Namaskar and welcome to this exciting episode of Sattology, debunking mythology. Sattology means science of truth or study of truth. Opposite of that is mythology, which is science of study of fake, lie, or imagination. I would request you to become a member of YouTube channels or at Patreon, because there most of the courses that we do, we have launched two courses. One is the debunking mythology course, which has been going on for many years. And the second one we have launched is a 12x teachers training course on yoga. And those courses happen throughout the week. You can become a member and you can join the courses, or there's a course fees that we charge you. You can pay directly and do the course with us. So I have a very special guest today. He's a chief petty officer. He's a retired chief petty officer of an Indian Navy ship. I don't know the ship name. We'll ask him. And also, he has served in the Indian Navy and honorably discharged after his service. And he will talk to us about the Indian naval and military growth, and also why India is neutral in today's Russia-U.S. war, U.S.-Russia war. Let's welcome Manan Bhatt. Jai Hind.
Jai Hind. Namaste. Hello, everyone.
Namaste.
Great to be here. Jai Hind, Aditya ji. It's always a pleasure to be on the Sattology platform.
So it's been a long journey since we met last time, and you've come on the show. It's been a long time. And I think Ukraine war, we did speak once on Ukraine war.
Yeah, we spoke once on the Ukraine war. We thought initially when we spoke, I thought this Putin must be planning to complete his escapades in Ukraine very soon. But as the things have gone by, the war is ongoing since last 8 months, and we all know that Ukraine was going to bleed, being a weaker country, comparatively weaker country. But the way the ongoing war is progressing, either way, Russia is losing in a big way. Russian economy is nosediving. They were never a powerful economy like China. But the way I see it, it's not. It might not be visible from the outside, because countries like Russia and China, they are such kind of a. They are not democratic countries. There is a very closed system that goes by, or what happens within the nation, what happens with the common citizens, not don't usually come out in open. So, but my assessment is that Russia is bleeding in a huge way. They are because rotation of the um, uh, if we talk about the military point of view, then I don't think it is easy to maintain and rotate soldiers, men, and machinery to in enemy's backyard, where war fighting is continuously going on. Ukraine is uh, rediscovering itself again and again, and attacking Russia again and again. Russian advances are stalled. Ukraine is fighting back like anything, and the way the West is supporting Ukraine, Russia is losing. Although they are still there in Ukraine, but besides Ukraine, if somebody who is going to be the biggest loser of this war is Russia, because their advances have not yielded them the results they've wanted. They've done some farce elections and a referendum, and declared a few areas as free and part of Russia, but it's not doing them any good. I don't think that Russia is going to be in any better position after this war is over, if it is going to be over soon. Let us hope, let us pray, because there are issues with food security. There are the the stability of the region is very worrisome for everybody, be it be it a person living in Western countries, or be it somebody living so like me, somebody who is living so far in India.
In my first article, when this war started, I wrote in Sunday Guardian that this war is going to end in November, and we are reaching November. Towards the end of November, is going to end, and it will. It Ukraine has already lost half the one third of the territory now, and I also predicted that. And the numbers which are coming out from the markets, if you see that carefully, then Russia has economically progressed during the war, and their currency is also the strongest as compared to dollar. So the that is the public data. And in fact, the American markets have lost more than $1.5 trillion in the American stock markets. Inflation is almost 10%, which is, I do not know the Russian figures yet, but we'll come to know slowly on the inflation side. But in any case, the loss of $100 billion versus $1 trillion, you can calculate which one is higher. Is easy to know. So the point is, wars create economies and wars help economies. And you can see the stock market prices of all the American arms companies are going up. Lockheed Martin is way up. Everybody is making money. And the people who are fighting on the ground are Ukrainians. I do not know. So the Ukrainians, there was a saying which was said in India or US, I do not know. Americans will fight till the last Ukrainian. So this is what is happening.
Yes,
So
that is true.
I do not know who is going to be winner, but definitely Russia is not going to lose, and US is not going to lose. So somebody else has to lose. Somebody has to lose. I don't know who. It will be Europe and Ukraine, both of them. Let's change the topic now, just to the Indian Navy presence and Indian military. So if this war, which we have seen, and Russia has sustained it for 7 months, 8 months, 9 months, because wars are not sustained based on the economy. Then economy helps in sustaining the war also. It's about the passion and the principles on which the wars are fought generally. And for that, people are willing to give anything for their principles. And people earn a lot of wealth from the wars. Like I said, industrial production in Russia will increase significantly to fill up all the burnt shells, burnt tanks, burnt everything. They have to produce them now. So it creates an internal economy now. In same case with the US also, internal economy going on. For Ukraine, probably nothing will happen. They'll have to live on imported weapons rest of the life now for at least 100 years. So the point is, what is the status of today's Indian military? Can they fight a long war, 9 months or something like that, according to you?
Mm. India doesn't manufacture all its weapons indigenously. Mm, There are certain platforms which we manufacture indigenously. So, uh, in case of a long war, we'll have our basic weapons, if I may say, the guns, the ships which are already available, the tanks which are already available. They will have them to fight and withstand a war. But as in the case of Russia, or say as in the case of USA, or the newest entrant in the arm race, China. In the cases of these countries, they have huge stockpiles of weapons and platforms. Uh, India doesn't have that luxury, being a moderate economy, a growing economy. We may say that India is world's fifth largest economy, but when it comes to per capita income, we are far below. We are far behind in comparison to other economies. So there is an issue, and a country which is economically more powerful, or has more stockpile, because since the end of say Cold War, Russia has huge stockpiles of weapons and platforms with them. They are technologically also far more. They have been far more ahead than India is. So India is capable to sustain, say, a two front war that will last for a month or so. But beyond that, see, we have platforms, we have manpower. Um, we may we if required we will fight a war, and we might go all out, but I don't think a war in Indian subcontinent will last this long, because India itself is a nuclear armed nation, and the biggest adversaries that we face in our northern borders, Russia, Pakistan and China, they both are also nuclear armed nations. So any skirmish or skirmish between, let me not say any war, but let me use the word skirmish between two nuclear armed nations. I don't think in any of the nation, any of these three nations will want the skirmish to escalate into a larger war, because it would eventually mean destructions, huge destruction in both the sides or three sides. So there will be, if I may say so, if there will be a battle or a skirmish, it will be a very short and quick one, like we had in 1971, or even for that matter, if I may say, Kargil War was a long fought battle. It lasted almost 3 months. So I don't think any battle in modern era, with the modern weapons that we have, with the modern sensing, remote sensing technology that we have, I don't think any this kind of battle will last that long. Yeah, if we consider the proxy war that Pakistan is indulging in against India, so it I don't see it ending any soon, and it is a long drawn battle. It is happening since last 30-35 years, and it's still going on. From terrorism to now, it has drugs, manufacturing and export of drugs to India has taken center stage. Terrorism has somewhat taken a back seat due to India's steps in removing the Articles 370 and 35A, and the anti-terror grid that we have is so strong technically, and also on-ground intelligence, be it on-ground intelligence, be it the army and Rashtriya Rifles going against the terror groups. NIA raids against terror groups. We have controlled our banking system in such a way that no terror group or no terror sympathizer gets any financial support. We have put technical surveillance all over. Our borders are secured with digitally secured with lesser technology. So, in any case, when terrorism has lessened in a big way, Pakistan is focusing. The state of Pakistan has shifted their focus to another front, that is the export of drugs to India, and we are seeing a huge spike, uh, a spike of levels that has world has never seen, or from that level, the way Indian state is fighting the joint agencies like Directorate and the NCB and the Coast Guard, Indian Navy, police, Marine Police, they are joining hands and fighting the menace of drugs in a big way. Very recently, till say this month, drugs, very huge catch of drugs were being caught from the coast of Gujarat, Saurashtra coast. And very recently, we have seen some drug catches in JNPT, Mumbai. Then there was a huge catch of drugs caught in which came from through Oman route to a beach in Kerala. So a port in Kerala. So the proxy war, I don't see it ending, and proxy war is also a kind of war that the world tends to ignore. A war that has been going against India since long, and um, I'm very saddened to see that the U.S. is supporting our a nation, a terror nation, Pakistan, in this proxy war by supplying them with spare parts for F-16. I've never seen an F-16 taking part in a war against terror. So why does Pakistan need F-16s to fight terror? And this is the pretext which using which US has supplied F-16 to Pakistan, and now they have revamped or supplied spare parts for the F-16 to Pakistan. And I fail to see that on one hand, Mr. Biden is saying that U.S. is fighting the war against terror. They wanted to they threw away the Taliban regime. They stayed there for years. So many U.S. soldiers died. Eventually, they left Afghanistan rotting in the hands of Taliban, and Pakistan, the India's neighborhood adversary and a state official sponsor of terror is being supported wholeheartedly by America again and again. And this is something which amuses me all the time.
You
जी
know,
हाँ जी जी.
why would US not supply weapons to anyone they want to if they increase in the sales? It's a profit for them. So they will supply to anyone because it's their prerogative. But the India has to plan their own things because India cannot, they have to plan their own politics and they have to plan their own diplomacy and also military strength. Now the question comes into the mind is the most of the if you look at the Indian naval posture, military posture, which has changed a lot since 2014, but still it's the same. The mindset is still the old mindset where they want to talk about when the military generals talk about peace. It's a it's a very dangerous situation for the country because it is the danda part of the state apparatus. So U.S. military never talks about peace. They remain quiet. They plan about covert actions all over the world, and they might be doing something right now against India also in Kashmir and China with China too, because they want to pin down India to teach them a lesson for standing up for themselves in the Russian NATO war. So if something would have happened long term, you correctly said that India buys all the weapons, and India is a large democracy. Now, how can they sustain a long term war if they buy the weapons? Because weapons are not going to be fought with tanks or bullets. Wars are going to be fought with hypersonic missiles, supersonic missiles, and that too, and also delivery systems which are indigenous. Anything Western can be sanctioned, anything Western can be controlled through agreements. You can't use them in the war, and anything of that sort of happen. So, are you worried that today's India's military postures, which are built on foreign weapons, has an expiry date? That in case of the when you need them the most, sanctions might be put. Like for example, most of the Indian transport fleet, logistical fleet, is American planes now. Hercules, C-17s, these are the mainstay of Indian transport now. Now they're all Americans. Any sanctions put, they're all gone. In fact, the Lockheed Martin planes, H-130 Hercules in India, is maintained by American contracting firm in India, not by the BRDs. So, I mean, where is the India's defense posture when they don't have the freedom to use their own planes?
No, this would have been true if we would have talked about this in maybe 2012, 10 or 12. But recently, since let me say last 12 years, India is moving ahead at a very brisk pace when it comes to manufacturing in India, manufacturing weapon platforms in India. As far as you said, USC 17 and Hercules, the larger planes, or some other, let me say, the, the, uh, the fighter planes that were uh, bought from France, the Rafale platform. It's true that we have bought this, we have purchased these planes, this platforms, but as far as the indigenization in the Air Force is concerned, we are moving ahead in a big way with development of Tejas MK1, MK2. LCA Tejas is a next big thing for Indian. I think for Indian aviation. Uh, the only uh, issue with Tejas program is the engines are not yet indigenized. We are dependent on a foreign platform for that. It is GE is going to supply the engines for Tejas. We have our own Kaveri engine, a gas turbine engine, which has certain small issues. India is trying to sort them out and enter into a collaboration which with a experienced company that has experience in developing or uh, getting getting rid of this or experience with manufacturing of gas turbine engines, and they will they are going to help us in getting these glitches away of this Kaveri platform. क्या होता है when it comes to platforms and building engines, say India has already the defense minister of India has already given a dictate that and India will not be purchasing any more diesel engines for its marine platforms, for its ships, naval ships. So we'll be manufacturing this diesel engines will be manufacturing in India only. Then when it comes to the if say let me say talk about marine platforms, then we have gas turbine engines for them. Then we have steam turbines. Then the fourth propulsion system is the nuclear one. We are dependent upon foreign nations to give us supply us the nuclear platforms and the gas turbine platforms. Boilers mostly we are building them inside India only. So two platforms are done and dusted. We are doing very good in it. Rest two platforms we are going to develop capacity to develop these platforms very soon. And I sincerely hope that once the Kaveri platforms uh, test some success, it will have its marine version and the air version. Both the versions will act in a independent way and will solve eventually. The Kaveri platform will solve the gas turbine dilemma that Indian Armed Forces certainly have are in right now. Now let me talk about the hypersonic and supersonic missiles. We India is developing jointly developing these missiles, ballistic missiles, ICBMs, in coordination cooperation with Russia, uh, and the BrahMos platform is a very fairly successful one. It has recently received some international orders also, and I think that for every kind of use, we are going to have a BrahMos missile. So either this one or that one. So Agni, Prithvi, these all are Akash missiles. These all are Indian platforms developed by DRDO. So we have our sufficient platforms, sufficient missile systems, sufficient weapon systems which are built in India only and indigenously built. Now, let me talk. Let us not forget. Just 1.5, 2 years back, we shot a satellite using our own indigenous missile in outer orbit. So we have our own capacity, and I am sure that with the blitzkrieg capacity that we have, we don't need to we are not Ukraine. India is not Ukraine. India doesn't that a war with India will not last for 8 months. Any country that indulges in war with India will have a bloody nose very soon. India won't be defending itself. We will take the attack to the opposition. It has been the tendency. It has been a forte of Indian Armed Forces. We have always taken the attack to the opposition and got them unguarded. So they won't know what has hit them. Let me say it for sure. We have enough weapons. We have enough defense systems to protect our country and to sustain a war. That is for sure. And see, Ukraine has limited capacity. They don't have nuclear weapons. Caliber escalation is also an issue for Ukraine. So it is not the case with India. India is basically, when it comes to the armed forces, India is a superpower. And I don't think not even America can sustain a war against India, because India can match. the capacity of enemy, missile by missile, attack by attack. That is it. G.
Uh, I love the soldier came out. And so I like that because this is what we want to hear from the soldiers. Because soldiers, like when I talk to American soldiers, I mean, they want to give their life for the country. And I love that feeling. And that is the spirit of the soldier which is there. And every soldier should stand for their own country. And like you said correctly, man for a man, eye for an eye. That's how the soldiers work. And one of my books, Narada, Narad Muni tells Yudhishthir, do you regularly attack your enemies or not? And Narad Muni tells him basically to fight wars in enemy territories. And that's what America also follows. It doesn't fights a war in their territory. Russia is doing the same thing. All the war is being fought in Ukrainian territory, not in Russian territory. So, and one of the things which is also very striking is that in the Mahabharata, there was one Pandav who always fought in the in the enemy territory, and that was Bhim. Always, he never came back. He was like, he was the, what do you call it, the Bibhatsa Roop. Bibhatsa means it can look, it will not be pleasing to anybody's eyes, but the enemy's heart will be shattered if they see Bhim against them, because he is not going to stop at anything. And sometimes that is needed to repel a person who is terrorist minded, like countries like Pakistan and all. They are regularly indulging in terrorism. The world recognizes it. People know the facts on the ground better than media projections, that there is a country which does that. Americans know it. Most of the terrorists which are being caught in USA have they received their training or are from originally from Pakistan. So they know all these facts. But the American arms industry is not American state. They have to sell weapons. And for them, if Pakistan is willing to buy something, they will do that. Now it is up to India to now plan, because India is a richer country, and they have a more powerful military forces to plan. So what do you think? Like, for example, it is today is the era of short, decisive wars. Like, all forces need to go in the front and finish the war off as soon as possible. So how prepared is India from the Navy side? By the way, I'm very impressed with INS Satpura. I'm also impressed with other Indian Navy ships which are coming out. I'm very impressed with the new aircraft carrier of India. But these are all very small as compared to the Western world. Like, if you look at an American Navy ship and Indian Navy ship, if you compare, just I'm talking about the Wikipedia comparison. I have not seen much. You can just see the missile silos, just count it. On an average, American destroyer carries 96 missile silos, and an Indian Navy ship carries 32 or 48 generally. So vast difference. So and if you keep on defending, you lose. You have to be offensive to defend. So where do we stand? Like, how do we stand as compared to the projection capability? Because one ship.
See, power projection. Yeah, yeah. I got your point. Uh, the ship that visited US, or that the ship that you've seen, that is Anas Khatpura. It's a Talwar. It is the next version of the Talwar class frigate. It's Talwar class frigate has had certain stealth capacities. The Shivalik class frigates. Satpura is also one of the Shivalik class frigates. They have enhanced stealth capacity. Besides, they have 32 cells of VLS launched Barak 1 missiles. They have 24 still medium range missiles, which are basically anti ship and land attack missiles. They have guns, rocket launchers. Besides, they have two HAL Dhruv or Seeking helicopters can also be accommodated on the ships. As a frigate, as a platform, as a frigate, stealth frigate, Satpura has enough weapons. Besides, I must say that the destroyers that India has, they have different kind of weapon capacities. They have more firepower than the than a frigate. So every platform, every weapon platform, every ship or say every submarine, they have different capacities as per its class. And this class of a ship is defined, basically designed and defined internationally. Uh, we can never say that they lack firepower. A ship, uh, a ship has to be a ship. It cannot be a missile. So then we have ICBM and other missiles which can be, launched from mainland India and can be sent anywhere around the world. So it's two different things that let me say. And India develops its weapon platforms, its ships, submarines, or say aircraft carrier as per its own requirement. And the designs are indigenous, based on the challenges that India face, not the challenges that US is going to face. US has say 8, 9 aircraft carrier strike groups. Their aircraft carriers move in a huge strike groups, and they have nuclear powered aircraft carriers. Indian aircraft carriers are not nuclear powered. They are powered by diesel. One is steam turbine, another one is a gas turbine aircraft carrier. The deployment that Indian ships see are far more different than the US ships see the deployments. US has 7 fleets, and the commander of the US Navy is a commander of the fleet. Indian Navy का जो commander है, the chief of naval staff is an admiral. So there is a vast difference in India's Navy, which is designed, which is built on the requirement of the country itself, and the US Navy, which is built on requirement of on their own requirement. So there cannot be a one-on-one power comparison between Indian Navy naval ships and US naval ships. But as far as India is concerned, as far as Indian interests are concerned, we have our own platforms. और ऐसा it is never the case कि आपके पास 100% आपके सारे आपकी the as per the requirement of the armed force, आपके पास 100% platforms कभी operational नहीं होते. There is a cycle of operations. There are cycles of refit, and you need new ships because over a period of time your ships get older, they get decommissioned. So it is a process, and India develops and designs ships as per its own requirement, and we have enough capability and enough firepower to be a superpower in our region.
When it comes to the global economic growth, then it is important that the most of the countries plan for the global emergencies, like long range deployment. Like if you have to if you protect the supply line from China onwards, then you protect near China, not near India. So that's how it works. So, expeditionary forces are becoming people have said offense is the best defense. And in today's world, it is becoming more true that offense is the best defense, because more and more countries uh, are like situated long distances, but they do affect your supply lines. Like chips destroyed from Taiwan will affect the Indian mobile industry today. So this kind of thing. So there is a dependency on Taiwan. There is a dependency on other countries, and it is a duty of India to protect it, their own supply lines. America is not going to protect it. Europe is not going to protect it. India has to protect it, and that's why American ships are always based in Asia. Most of the Asian ships. There are 11 aircraft carrier groups, American Naval 11 aircraft carrier groups, and the latest one is so huge. It's the biggest one which has been launched, the aircraft carrier. So how?
Limits.
Not limits. The latest one is I just skipped my mind, but it is the latest one is it will come back. The 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 point is India ready to prepare a supply line protection from Taiwan to India and from Suez Canal to India? So India has to be deployed across the Suez Canal as well as on this side of the Suez Canal. Are we even prepared for that?
We are already doing that. I must say that India is the net security provider in the marine region, in the Indian Ocean region, since long. a huge, we are being a maritime nation that we are, it is protecting and providing net security to the sea lines of communication in the IOR is rests upon India only. We have developed huge communication systems. We have developed satellite ship identification systems, and put them in place so that every ship that passes through the IOR is being kept under radar, Indian radars, is being kept under Indian satellites, and until unless they identify themselves, they are not allowed to pass through. So IOR and the Indian Ocean region is the backyard of India, and we are the net security provider of the IOR at present time, and nothing can change that. We are developing our capacities in a big way, and we are going to remain the net security provider for the IOR for let me say next 10 to 15 years at least, with the present capacity only. And with passing time, China's escapades in IOR are increasing. They are sending their submarines and ships for long-term deployments, which is a cause of concern for India. And to match China's capacities and capabilities, India is also extending its deployment to much beyond the IOR, and we are doing exercises with friendly nations in the South China Sea also. We have extended, even INS Satpura also passes, done a passex through the SC, South China Sea region, and China is not liking it, but we are doing that in a big way. In Satpura, when INS Satpura went to Australia and participated in a bilateral exercise, it also didn't go well with China, because Indian Navy's increasing footprint is a cause of concern for our adversary, that is China. But India is doing that, and India is and will be the net security provider for the IOR, and we are there, and we are going to remain there for a long time.
It's called the Gerald R. Ford aircraft carrier. And that's a class of carriers which are launched, and each one of them is $13 billion. Each one aircraft carrier, each one is. And it's so huge. It's same size like Nimitz, but much more technologically advanced. So they're going to replace all 11 of them with that class. And it carries 2 nuclear reactors, not one. So which is a different class altogether. So like if they have 11, each one carrying 80 planes at around 80 to 90, but generally 80. So you can imagine 880 aircraft floating in this ocean, and then they can project. And American aircrafts, naval aircrafts, can be very long range bombers also, including AWACS. They fly big planes also from the flight decks. Indian ships mostly fly this fighter planes, but American Navy flies even the transport planes from the flight decks. So the question comes into mind is like when you talk about the future, and we see what US is creating a benchmark. The philosophies are different. Russians don't create large aircraft carriers. They focus more on aircrafts and missiles, which is can destroy an aircraft carrier like in one shot, and they can break them into half, literally half. So Russians focus on that. What is the Indian naval doctrine in that kind of warfare?
Indian Navy, when it comes to aircraft carriers, we bought Vikramaditya, that was the Admiral Gorshkov from Russia. It's a medium-sized aircraft carrier. Another one, NS Vikrant, is also slightly bigger size, but with it can operate only the fighter jets from on board. The next aircraft carrier that Indian Navy wishes to develop, it will be probably named INS Vishal. It will be a larger aircraft carrier, or maybe it will be propelled by, although it is in design stage, it may be propelled by a nuclear technology. So India has, as I said earlier, also we have our own interests and our own doctrine when it comes to Navy. Our priorities are, besides aircraft carrier, our priorities are building fast attack nuclear submarines, and we need at least 7 submarines in our kitty. So we have float global tenders for buying for developing submarines for India, but somewhat that is also in progress. So, but India is being a modest country. We go by building platforms in a very phased manner rather than going them bomb blasting like China and certain technologies that we don't possess right now, or certain speeds at US develops an aircraft carrier every 5 years. The Brooklyn dockyard is a very uh, fast builder for aircraft carriers for US. There are discussions in US also, because to sustain an aircraft carrier, to sustain a huge platform that houses 2,500 sailors on board, more than 2,500 sailors on board. Uh, it's like a floating city. You need a very large resources to sustain such an platform, and there are countries which are sufficiently rich can only afford aircraft carriers. Besides, a submarine gives you more firepower, and it requires only 25 to say 30 max at the max 30 men to operate a submarine. And so, besides building an aircraft carrier, we have our own priorities cut out, and I hope so that we'll soon build 100% indigenized submarines. And for that, Indian industry, Indian PSUs like MDL, GRSE, they need huge support from the government, as the government supported, as the government did during COVID time to build Indian vaccines. If such kind of support, such kind of uh, humongous support is given to the industry by the government, definitely the industry, particularly the PSUs, I have full faith in them. They will respond in a big way, and we'll see some good platforms built in India at a very rapid rate as expected. We can see Tejas is an indigenized platform, and we can see that how fast Tejas is the platform Tejas has evolved after blind support, after so much support from the government. So, like Tejas, if the government takes more interest in building naval platforms, we'll soon see very formidable platforms being built for Indian Navy by the PSUs and the private industry. G.
India does have a large public sector as well as private sector industrial base. In fact, Indian ordnance factories are the Asia's largest military industrial base after Russia, even bigger than China. But we have not been India has not been able to use it effectively. Like we have been not been able to put use to them. Maybe gradually India has made some changes to the laws, and I think they divided the companies into seven major corporations, and they will turn out into a much more manageable, because in defense production it's all about program management. It's not about producing. Producing is a very important aspect, but program management is what ensures a cost effective operation. So India will do something great about it because they have the second largest industrial base after Russia. Not China is third as compared to India, but still we will not be able to produce. China has been able to produce virtually every type of aircraft, whether it's a transport or fighter, from within their own industries. India has not been able to produce, and the somehow the mindset also matters. I think with the Tejas things will change. My last question to you is that India has shown a very large capacity in terms of missile development. They have been very successful with that. And so, do you think that the missile, which is mostly missiles which are built in joint venture, will become totally Indian after some time?
The see, India is developing missiles in indigenously. DRDO is developing missiles in a big way. DRDO missiles are second to none. But the joint platforms are companies. BrahMos is a joint venture, is a company which functions independently. It's a successful and an old venture now, and I don't see it this partnership ending soon. there was a worry in Indian circles, in international circles also. The people who were wishing well wishers of India had worries कि Russian sanctions will affect the BrahMos venture in a big way, but it didn't happen. BrahMos is going very strong, and I don't see it ending very soon. Yes, the experience gained from the BrahMos and some kind of technology transfer, some kind of friendly chit chat with the DRDO, some technology sharing, some platform sharing can also do so good to the platforms which are being built by DRDO or vice versa, built by the BrahMos venture. But it's a good venture, and it is doing great in terms of building a new platform after every now and then. I don't see it ending very soon because a successful venture with a friendly country has seen so many ups and downs, and since through those ups and downs, relations of India and Russia have remained steadfast, and it will. I sincerely hope that these relations and the joint venture will also will go ahead, will go further in future, and take India and Russia, both the countries, to new heights. Ji.
Thank you so much for coming on the show today and sharing all these insights. And for all the viewers, one small chat has come. Will India and US remain friends in future also? If you want to comment on it, this is audience question.
Yes, it's a good question. India and US are friends, but the modern India that we see, you must have seen our EM Jaishankar saying that when nobody stood with India, when nobody supplied any arms and ammunition to India, Russia was from the West. Nobody was standing with India. Russia was the closest friend that India had. So India is a country that is able to, in modern times, we are able to balance our relations with Russia and America both. And we wish the relations to remain the same, remain steadfast, and remain strong, be it with USA and be it with Russia. And for a democracy like USA, which is, and besides a superpower like USA, which is planning to, which is wishing to balance wishing to balance China in Asia, they have no other option to support and be friendly with India. And besides, we both the countries have common interests. We both the countries, US and India, they are one of the world's two of the world's largest democracies. Uh, Besides, we see there are so many countries which are autocracies and still friends of USA. But India is a country which is an open democracy, which has open thoughts, and culturally also. I think that we find so many things in common. So definitely, USA and India are friends, and we will remain friends for a long time. Uh, what I see is in the future, at present, somewhat I can see feel that Biden administration is somewhat not occupied, somewhat occupied with the since last 8 months. They are occupied with the Ukraine-Russia conflict, and so somehow the rest of the diplomatic channels have taken a back stage. Otherwise, India and US relations were moving towards together in a very big way, and we were getting closer by day. As soon as the Russia conflict gets over, US will definitely seek to get more closer, more friendly with other friendly nations like India and so many other countries. So definitely, once the war is over, our the warmth of India and US relationship will see a new heights, will achieve new heights.
Just to educate the audience also, just understand America has, USA, I'm only talking about, not the continent, has 330 million people. Just one state or two states of India is 330 million people. Just imagine the small number of people that the US government has to manage. It's a very small number. And so India has to feed 1.4 billion people, which is the entire North America, South America combined, plus 80% of Europe. That's the Indian population. So you can imagine how big is India in terms of managing the people. And also they have been doing it very successfully also. Despite everything, they're growing. So there is a very little comparison between India and the US. And which brings me to the next point of why India seeks validation from the West. And we'll cover that tomorrow in the next show, where you'll see that we'll ask this question to a very important guest, very, very important guest coming on the show tomorrow live, where we will ask him this question, tough question, why India seeks validation from the West. So thank you all for joining and thank you all for listening to this show. And also we will come back l- with some more interesting content for all of you. Namaste and thank you.
Thank you. Namaste. Jai Hind.
Jai Hind.